Tales from the Dark Multiverse: Death of Superman is the first issue in a limited run of DC Comics featuring dark variations of iconic DC stories. This comic was published back in December of 2019. The beginning of this tale takes place in the end of another one, which is the infamous battle between Superman and Doomsday in The Death of Superman. This story initially ends just as the original one does, with both Superman and Doomsday slaying each other in the streets of Metropolis. A heartbroken Lois Lane runs over and holds the body of her fallen husband in disbelief of what had just happened. Her tears of sorrow, though, soon turn to tears of wrath as she begins to develop a deep resentment towards the other Justice League members for not aiding Superman in battle. The likes of Batman tried to console Lois, but she basically told them to get lost, asking them where they were when Clark needed them. Honestly, I always questioned where Batman was during the battle with Doomsday. The fight was televised nationwide and homie Bruce was nowhere to be found. I know he would not have been much of a help during the fight, but I can only imagine he was watching it from his Batcave, secretly rooting Doomsday on. We got our eyes on you, Batman. The heroes would then have a long drawn-out funeral for Supes, which rather disgusted Lois, as she thought they were all there for the publicity and did not truly care. Even the likes of Lex Luthor, sporting some luscious red locks, showed up as well to give some fake words of sentiment for the fallen hero. Falling into a deep depression, Lois struggled acclimating back to life without the man she loved. She would visit with Clark's earthly parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, only to discover that Jonathan had suffered a major heart attack after blaming himself for the death of their son. While the doctors tried to save him, Jonathan sadly passed away, leaving Martha without both of the men that she loved most in their lives. At her wit's end, Lois would visit the Fortress of Solitude with Superman's tattered cape to say her last goodbyes. Sitting in solace, Lois would be shocked as a sudden explosion rocked the entire fortress. Out of nowhere, Lois would come face to face with a being of pure energy. This being, called the Eradicator, revealed himself as a defender of Krypton with the sole purpose of protecting Superman. He tells Lois that he took Clark's body and placed it in the fortress's life matrix to re-energize his cells. However, Clark had been dead for too long, and the machine would have no effect. Given that this was essentially his one job that he goofed up, the Eradicator revealed that the Superman reviving energy within him needed to be used, otherwise he would cease to exist. Lois, having no other options, offered her body as a vessel for the power so the Man of Steel's legacy could live on. The Eradicator then tells her that the energy was reserved for a Kryptonian and that the transfer could kill her. Having already lost everything as is, Lois tells the Eradicator to proceed so she could finally end the fight that Clark had fought so long for. Obeying Lois's wish, the Eradicator proceeds, granting the woman the godly powers of Superman. Rocketing off to space, decked out in Superman's ripped cape, an all-black onesie, glowing red eyes, and a bloody S on her chest, this newly powered Lois set out to avenge Superman, while looking like the most metal-dripped-out drama queen ever. But we love you, Lois. Swearing to make a better world, Lois plummets to Earth and uses insanely violent tactics to end wars, hunger, and disputes, but begins to question why Clark did not go to these lengths when he was alive. After liberating a country filled with death, Lois uses her X-ray vision to see who is responsible for this destruction, when it turns out to be, of course, Lex Luthor, who had been quite busy once Superman died. After admitting to the usual series of war crimes, climate issues, funding child soldiers, killing his secretary, and probably a dog or two, Lex felt completely cool about admitting this, as he thought this superpowered Lois would react just as Superman would and would just fly away to fight another day. It is in this moment, though, that Lex knew he messed up, for Lois quickly proved that she was not Clark, for she grabbed the dude and flew him up into the atmosphere until he burned in orbit, crispier than a dead rat in a KFC deep fryer.